Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Brendan O'Brien Show, WFNP.org, for those of you out there listening online, 88.7 FM. That's us.
That's you.
That's me. Welcome to the inaugural show of the Brendan O'Brien Show for the fall 2013 semester. However, we are not live. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, I'm having surgery. And my butt is going to be laid out up in Albany, New York at my mama's house. And mama's going to be taking care of me. So at this point when it airs, I will be on my way to Albany. And then we have another show we're going to record that will be airing while I'm in recovery, really upset with myself and my body.
But think of it as live.
Think of it as live. Think of it as I'm there. So I care so much about all 10 to 15 of you out there that listen that I want to be out there. So 88.7 FM at WFNP on the Twitter. We're also on Facebook and AIM. You can chat with the engineer Owen. Hello and shout out to Owen for playing this for us right now. Appreciate that. So something a little different. You heard a little gentleman. Not a little gentleman. You're a big man.
I am a big man.
You're a big man. I'm sorry. You're a little guy. The little guy in the corner. His name is...
Not Judgmental Judy.
It is...
Chris.
And Chris and I do a podcast called The OBT Show that you can find out more about by visiting youtube.com/The OBT Show. We're on Facebook at The OBT Show on Twitter. And you can email us at theobtshow@gmail.com. We do check it, okay? We check it. It's there. And we do a lot of fun things in pop culture. We do music. We do video. What else do we do, Chris?
We don't really do music.
We talk a little bit about it.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
We do video games and movies and comic books.
Comic books. Ooh, someone just hit the nail on the with the hammer, and my metaphors are getting mixed up. But big comic book news over the summer that I would have talked about had I been in studio or not. Mr. Ben Affleck is now all of us. It is our generational Batman. The Batman Beyond, if you will. Ooh.
What's a Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck, for those of you kids that don't know, he is an Academy Award-winning director and writer.
That's true.
And he is coming off the success of Argo,
which was awesome.
Awesome film. The success of The Town, as well as
that was also awesome.
Tomorrowland was also great when he portrayed Superman. Chris gave me a funky face.
It was okay.
It was okay?
It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was as good as The Town or Argo, but it was okay.
It was okay. And so now that's sort of where this casting news came out of nowhere to me. I don't know. I want to get your thoughts in a bit, Chris, but for me, it kind of came out of nowhere, where most of the reports out there had people ranging from Ryan Gosling to John Hamm, Orlando Bloom, Josh Brolin, I think, was also mentioned. You're right. For me, it was shocking. But I'm okay with it. What are your thoughts, Chris?
Well, they kind of described what they were looking for. They were looking for a more grisly Batman, and I guess if after watching Argo and you saw like the way he composed himself, like the way he had his facial hair was very like grisly, and he looked a little weathered.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going for. This is not a Batman origin story, so it's not going to be like let's retell over and over and over again the same thing. It's going to be Batman meeting a young Superman, I'm assuming.
Well, it's going to be Henry Cavill, so I guess the premise would be, and this is my plot, so I want to get your thoughts on this too. I want to see what you think the plot's going to be.
Okay.
This is what I think the plot's going to be. They teased Batman's satellite. We eat crackers sometimes, so if you hear crackling, that's us eating crackers. We do it on the podcast. We're trying to be more professional on the radio. But you sometimes, in the film, you saw little glimpses here and there. You saw LexCorp. You saw a Wayne Industries satellite, which was pretty cool. My guess is that Bruce becomes involved in Superman because he sees that his satellites are being blown up. He sees what's happening in Metropolis. And maybe that's also the introduction for Lex Luthor to then try and maybe even, and actually a fan trailer alluded to this. That's some idea I hadn't thought of, like a merger almost between LexCorp and Wayne Industries as a way for Batman to be closer to Lex. But Superman may interpret that as Wayne is the enemy.
I agree. I think maybe from the Bruce Wayne standpoint, it's going to be more of like I want to know more about what's going on. Not necessarily with the evil intentions, but
right.
He's a little concernicus.
Or Concernicus?
Lex Luthor is going to be selling blue crystal meth, So he's going to want to team up with him
You
because
want to team with
obviously
him,
he seems...
and he has a sweet RV.
Yeah, sweet RV.
You know why we're making that joke? Because Bryan Cranston's supposed to be Lex Luthor. Has that been confirmed as of this recording?
Still a rumor.
Okay, so our bad if when you hear this soon.
Well, actually, no, I don't know because I haven't been on the internet all day. So like, it could have changed in the past, like,
That's
8
true.
hours.
We're not up to date on this show, just as a heads up.
No, we're usually pretty
good. We're
Yeah.
pretty good. But yeah, so Bryan Cranston's going to be the actual Lex Luthor. Well, hopefully he will be, because I think it's an excellent casting choice. Do you think it's awesome? So you think that we're pretty much on the same page with as far as the way this script could be written? You're welcome, Warners. We just wrote it for you.
Yeah, done.
Give us money now.
And then Matt Damon's going to be playing Robin.
I saw memes about Damon and Affleck together, which was hilarious.
When I saw that picture
Batman.
in my head, all I could hear is...
I'm excited about it. I know the internet almost exploded with people being angry.
Yeah.
You would have thought Ben Affleck personally beat up everybody's mother on the internet and then kicked their dog for good measure with the amount of vitriolic anger and hurt that was spread through the internet based on Ben Affleck. What were your thoughts on that? Do you think it's overreaction?
They're just jealous. He got to touch
Yeah.
J-Lo's butt. The jealousy has never ended. It subsided because they were like, all right, not some bad movies. We didn't like you again.
Yeah. I think it's because he did Daredevil. That's why he's got... I try to find some redeeming things out of Daredevil.
Yeah, you take the seesaw scene out of Daredevil, and it's a completely different movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one
yeah.
scene that's just, like, glaringly obvious that they were like, we need to have some kind of sexual tension between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner.
I agree. At some point, the Ben Affleck Daredevil really... it was interesting because I think that he tried, but he wasn't yet old enough to be a superhero.
Yeah,
that was my impression with it. And I think that part of it was that, really, it was not the right time for him. I think now is the time for him. Now is the time.
He just didn't have that weathered, like, he's seen some experience look about him. Oh, you're writing things down. I'm in trouble.
No, I'm just giving myself notes.
Yeah.
No.
No, I agree, and I think he was a little, like, I don't know. He's supposed to be a little cocky, playing Daredevil, but I think he was.
Yeah, Matt. He overdid it. Yeah, he made it a little too. He made it like Dick Grayson-esque, Nightwing. Sort of like that.
Like a little Spider-Man-y too.
Little Spider-Man-y. Yeah. And I think, part of the issue was that you had a Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin, which was pretty solid for the most part, but then you had, who's that, the Irish actor that played Bullseye?
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell, who was like just, I don't know what he was on when he was being Bullseye, casting. But he was terrible. It was just a very bad film. A Kevin Smith appearance, though, in that film, which is always funny to me. That was like the one thing out of that film I always remember, like, oh, Kevin Smith.
Your one redeeming quality from Daredevil.
is Kevin Smith. So now we have entered the Affleck era, as I'm referring to, which got me thinking. There's been many Batmen before, right, Chris? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's been, I mean, not that many, but enough to say about 10.
I would agree.
Or 7.
I would agree. And I think that it got us thinking that we thought it would be funny and maybe amusing to all of you if we, Batman experts, maybe I'm more Batman expert than you are.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right, so we're on equal footing. We both have our PhDs in batology?
No. I think I'm more batologized.
We will have to have this fight out in the parking lot with knives.
Yeah.
But
side story.
Side story. But what we can do is, I wanted to get Chris's top 5 Batman, and then we've opened it up. It's not just those that have been played in movies. It's any genre, so we can include cartoons.
All Batmans.
It can include video games. It can include any medium in which Batman appeared as far as an acting capacity. So comic book artists and writers are off the table, but you could do Adam West. You could do a lot of different folks. So I think what would be best is if we started with our 5th pick, and we go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Chris, I'm going to, because I'm a generous and gracious host,
Go first. Thank
Nope.
you.
I want you to go first. You crazy animal. And I want you to give me who is your very
Number
last
5.
number 5 Batman. I wrote my list down because I'm prepared, but I want you to think about it.
Because I didn't know what format we were going to do. I
Well,
was just thinking in my head, like, I know my top favorite.
Well, give me
And I know
your
my
least
second
of that
one,
top,
and I know
then
my
work
third
backwards.
one.
That's work. Okay, where's your 4th? Now you have your 4th. Mine.
Adam West, I guess.
Oh, well, oh my God, you just spoiled it. We're supposed to go 5 up.
That was 5.
Oh, Adam West is your 5th. Okay,
My
explain
5th.
why. I want to take a sip of my coffee.
Well, I don't think they really ever wanted to have this super serious approach at that time. So they were portraying Batman as more of a campy detective.
Right.
And it was entertaining. Like, you can't knock it for it not being fun. It was corny. I mean, like, I watched it out of like 2 or 3 generations.
Right.
So for me, I was completely thrown for a lot of the references. But even as a kid, I enjoyed it. I had fun watching him and like trying to fight and drunk dancing and
Those I have him a little higher, but Adam West to me, I think if without Adam West, you don't have everything after it because the success of Batman opened the door for the rest of it to come through.
Mm-hmm. No,
So I love Adam West, even though the inflections in his voice were so strange. Stuff like that. To the Battle, Robin, the Joker is afoot again in Gotham. It was very strange, Adam West, but he's so cool. And I think it's goofy, but Batman 1966, the film, is the funnest, the most fun film ever.
Exploding shark repellent.
Exploding, Robin, the exploding shark repellent. And then Burt Ward goes, "Holy crap, Batman! Here it comes." You can't beat that at all.
Okay, so who's your 5th?
My fifth?
Yeah.
You ready for my 5th? My 5th, Val Kilmer.
Okay.
Here's why. I think that Val Kilmer was sort of a palate cleanser. He was the George Lazenby, if you will, of the franchise, where you had the Michael Keaton that started it off, and then they were still trying to figure out who to take over the mantle. Mm-hmm. Val Kilmer had enough of the demented psychological Batman. That's what he got really well. But what he kind of messed up on is sort of the action. Like, I didn't take him that seriously in the suit, you know what I mean? As seriously as one can take a grown man in a suit. But I think the Val Kilmer was solid enough with the psychological Batman, especially that scene where they recap kind of his becoming Batman, and he's describing it, and he's like so serious and intense. Like, that is a damaged Bruce. That decision that he made, I love it to this day, and I think it's awesome. So, Val Kilmer is my number 5. Talk about Val.
Well, no, he was my number 4.
Okay,
And
cool.
no, it's almost the exact same reason. It's just like they actually showed the damaged psyche of Batman, where they had him more trying to explore his mind openly instead of like just being reclusive and using the night as his therapy and only beating the crap out of villains is the only way for him to express himself. So I thought that was unique.
The problem, I think, with the franchise is that was Batman Forever.
Yeah, that was the third of the
4 of the. Well, you know what? We can break it down to eras. The Joel Schumacher era began with that film.
Yeah.
And you had Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and you had Jim Carrey as the Riddler, which they were so over the top that I think you lose the nuance of Val Kilmer's performance.
I still love.
It's good, but it's so out of balance. That's the problem. You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's a very out of balance film with the characters and the characterization where you have, Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey, which is funny and it's a good film. But the Riddler in the comic books before that is never that outrageous and insane.
True. I mean, I still tend to lean towards the Riddler from the animated series, and he's a little bit leaning more towards not as outlandish as Jim Carrey was in the movie, but definitely more creepy, maniacal, I guess.
I would agree with that. I mean, very creepy, very maniacal, but I just think that Val would have been great with the Penguin, with Danny DeVito.
Oh yeah,
and even Jack Nicholson, because sort of that they were darker characters. Mm-hmm. All right, so that's my. Who do you have for 4? You said you had Adam West, right?
No. I had Adam West, and then
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer was my number 4. Who's your number 4?
Christian Bale.
Okay.
Here's why he's lower than I think most people would expect.
Yeah.
I can't get over the voice.
That's fine.
The voice
That's
of Batman
completely fine. That's
kills it for
completely
me.
fine.
When he's like, as Bruce Wayne, he's like, I think I'll just get the Russian ballet to come out with me, huh?
And then
Alfred?
an hour later,
and he's all like, then an hour later, he's like, swear to me, where is he, Harvey?
It's true. It was
Harvey.
it kind of removed you from the moment in a few scenes.
Yeah.
It actually
Oh,
made
yeah.
sense when he was like beating the crap out of someone. You were like, I want to be as furious as he is right now. But then when he was just like having a conversation as Batman with someone, it was just you couldn't think about what they were talking about.
Oh, it was terrible, and really,
or understand some of it.
no levity in his performance. No, Batman is supposed to be cool. Like, he is a cool dude as Bruce Wayne, cool dude as Batman, and he kind of makes jokes.
Some portrayals of
Some portrayals, but there's always a hint of humor in most of the stuff that they do. It just is just dry. This was a depressing. I mean, the whole thing with, ever since Rachel died, I'm just going to stay in my house for 8 years. Real Batman wouldn't stay in his house for 8 years. I got angry and hit my table.
Yeah, but that's also that you're saying real Batman as comic book Batman.
Yes,
That's
the only
real
real
Batman as in a real human being's look at what Batman would be like in real life, instead of it being like fantastical or completely fantastical.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Dark Knight Rises, but where I lost it for me was when Catwoman is on the rooftop with Batman, and they're having a conversation. Batman turns, and then when he turns around, Catwoman's gone. And that was like, he says a line that if he said it as Bruce, would have gotten a big laugh, but he says it as Batman, which makes it sadder. Yeah. He goes, so that's what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want to laugh, but if he was just like, so that's what that feels like, then everyone in the whole theater would have
lost their They would have lost.
But he would have gone so much better, but he went with, so that's what that feels like. So that's my number.
Well, I'm going to tell you why
4.
he's my number 3. Because I'm excluding Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Right.
I'm coming from Batman Begins, Christian Bale.
Okay.
The reason he's my number 3 is he is as close to Batman Year One, which was intended by Christopher Nolan, that you'll ever see in live action, unless they actually do Batman Year One the story.
Right.
And for me, as a nerd, that was really like uplifting because I was just like, they got a story in like 50% right, and he portrayed the character well, and he had the damaged youth, and I really liked the idea of him becoming a criminal to like survive, and finding out who he is. Like that, it was really cool.
Like homeless Man of Steel was in the latest Man of Steel, where he goes on a sojourn, a walkabout for most of the movie.
Yeah, but I mean,
hated
it wasn't that not necessarily as corny, I guess, as Superman's.
That was corny. That was pretty corny.
Batman's was like, it was serious. Like, he was just like, I was just about to shoot a man in cold blood, watched him die in front of me, and then he snaps, and he's like, I gotta figure out really what, makes me, and then he just goes off and leaves. Right. And then he goes and trains, and he becomes, Batman.
Superman, Batman. Superman.
Depending on which movie you're watching.
Superman. But no, I think Christian Bale was service. I like Batman Begins. Batman Begins is one of my favorites.
It's so good.
And then Dark Knight is solid only because of Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger was awesome.
And then that's sort of when the shift came, like almost the focus went away from Batman, Christian Bale's portrayal, and then almost it was Batman's a supporting character, and the villain's going to be the main. Whenever that switch happens, it's always dangerous, because then you lose the essence, in my opinion, of what the film should be about.
Well, yeah.
If you're going to call it Dark Knight, it should be all about Batman.
Well, it's true.
That's what you should walk away
Because I think
from.
they made Gotham become more of a character than, being a set piece. Especially in the third movie. That's when it was just like,
I have a letter from Jim Gordon. And I'm like, oh. That scene bothers me. Side note, because he's yelling, but he's wearing a mask. He should have brought some microphone equipment with him.
Yeah, or shoved it inside his mask. It might be a little muffled, but
instead of go, I have an announcement. Hold on. I have a letter from Jim. Can you hear me? Can you hear me through my mask?
Do you like my megaphone?
I have my permission. They can't hear me. All right. We're going to need to take a quick break before we get to our top 2 on the other side. Do you want to say one more thing before we break?
No.
You're listening to The Edge and the OBT show. We'll be right back. And we're back. Welcome to the Brendan O'Brien Special Edition Show, the OBT show. You're listening to the Edge 88.7 FM, WFNP.org. Chris, we were just recapping our bottom three, if you will, of our top five. So give me your bottom three again. Let's recap it.
Oh, wait, we got that far?
We did, yeah, we did.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, wait, no, because I will reveal my third because we've already discussed it, so we can move on to the top two after that. So what were your bottom three?
Adam West.
Adam West was five.
Number 4 was Val Kilmer.
Yep.
Number 3, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. Mine is number 5, Val Kilmer. Number 4, Christian Bale. And my number 3, Adam West. Again, I put him higher.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm
for
not
the
saying...
same reasons, for the reasons I gave. But right now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I think we're going to be very similar with our picks. So who do you have at number dos, Chris?
So between number 1 and number 2 are really significant.
Yeah.
I'm picking number 2 based on making Batman more mainstream, which is Michael Keaton.
Yes, that is my number 2 as well. Explain it.
Not only just did he do Bruce Wayne very well, in my opinion, not only did he make Batman this brooding dark figure, he did it in a giant rubber suit. And he made movies that at the time were all about guys being in, super muscular Rambo, Arnold Schwarzenegger movies to now you've got a guy in a suit that's saving the world. And it's not about necessarily, he has to be the biggest, muscliest or whatever. It was like he was smart and he was, talented. He could fight. It was just, he had everything. It was the whole package.
I love him for all those reasons. I love it, too, because it's so funny. Affleck is getting killed in the internet. You know who else got killed? Michael Keaton. There are articles that are out there. Just Google Michael Keaton as Batman articles. You can almost cut and paste between Affleck and Keaton the same comments. The knock against Keaton was he had done a lot of comedians. He was Mr. Mom. So a lot of it was, how can Mr. Mom be Batman? Yep. And a lot of it was, how could Johnny Dangerously be Batman? Because those are the films he did. He did a lot of comedy, and this is his first portrayal. But you know what? It worked out, and Chris makes a great point. Like, he was the best Bruce Wayne because he had that bit of levity. He was humorous.
Yeah.
But he was aware, not so goofy where it was comical like Adam West, but he was self-aware of the fact that it's ridiculous to be Batman, which was sort of a refreshing take at the time. Mm-hmm. And you also had the fact that he could go toe-to-toe, which I think Michael Keaton is a very underrated actor. He went toe-to-toe with Jack Nicholson. And that film, there in my mind, there's no differentiation between it's a Michael Keaton film, it's a Jack Nicholson, it's a Batman film.
It's a Batman film.
Perfect on all levels. Fires on all cylinders.
Very well cast all around.
Oh, yeah. And I think everybody that wants to point at sort of the Robert Downey Jr. as, he was the one who made it all happen, you got to go further back, brother. That's 1989's Batman. Without that Batman, if that fails commercially, you would have another 20 years of nobody wanting to touch a superhero franchise.
I completely agree. And also to me, it was the best mob presence as far as a Batman movie goes.
Oh, most definitely.
And that's huge in the comics, is the mob presence. It's not all about like crazy supervillains.
No.
And it was very well presented. I was pleased as a young person. I can still watch it today.
Me too. I am always bummed out whenever every now and then I reread, sort of how Keaton was supposed to have done the third Batman, wasn't able to do it. And it would have been awesome. It had like Scarecrow in it. It was like Batman Retaliation or something like Revenge or something, and then would have had Jack Nicholson come back as a hallucination, but still have that character. So, Michael Keaton. So let's go our number 1. I think, which is again a consensus pick. Number 1. Who's your pick, Chris?
Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy.
Versatility.
Yes,
he is Batman in cartoons. He's Batman in Batman the Animated Series. Yep. He is Batman in Batman Beyond. He is Batman in the Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. He is Batman.
He's the best, and I think you can't say enough how a guy that defined a generation for me and for you of who Batman is, how Bruce Wayne can be. Again, that beautiful balance between a normal everyday guy for the most part and a dark superhero. Really, I mean, this guy
from behind the microphone.
Yeah, from behind the microphone, and just making the comics, and now, I mean, every time I read a Batman comic book, it's Kevin Conroy's Batman voice in my head. Anytime I read anything Batman, or Even when they announced for Arkham Origins that they were going with a new actor because they want to portray a younger Batman, I was so disappointed. I don't care how old Kevin Conroy gets. I want him to be Batman.
Yeah, and I'm sure that whoever is going to be voicing Batman is mirroring himself after Kevin Conroy's voice.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, because he's Batman.
He's the best. I mean,
there's no way
to look around it. And I think, and he's...
Even the movies, the comic book movies that they do, it's always him.
It's Kevin Conroy.
I don't think there's one that I've watched that wasn't Kevin Conroy's Batman.
No. And you have, not just in Batman animated series, but he did Justice League, he did Justice League Unlimited. He's just synonymous with all things Batman, out of a funny little cartoon in 91 that nobody really thought would actually go anywhere, that has lasted and given that dude a career for the last 30 years almost, of just consistent knocking it out of the park, and not even just things that are cartoony. Like, you could say, oh, well, he just does the cartoons, but as Chris said, the video games he does, the animated movies where the content is a little more adult and the content is a little heavier, that dude could carry that. No problem. He flexes his muscle. He's a trained actor. He was on Broadway. He went to Juilliard. I mean, I've read that. This dude is so much Batman to me that I've read up on him. I need to know more about him. And he went to Juilliard. He's a classically trained actor. He worked with Robin Williams. This guy's no joke. He's not just some dude they found off the street. He's the real deal.
And on top of that, he has found the perfect blend between Bruce Wayne and Batman voice. The slightest inflection change becomes an entirely separate character. It's insane to listen to him when Batman's in a meeting or Bruce Wayne's in a meeting and he's talking to people, and then he's Batman, and 5 minutes later in the cartoon you're listening to the voice and you're just like, it's so good.
I know.
It just never fails.
And I've been watching I have it on my
saw it. I saw it. I was
season 1 of Batman the animated series, and there's an episode where he laughs as Batman, and it's such I was just like, why he even figured out how to make Batman laugh without being weird about it and making it work. He goes, it's like a breathy kind of laugh. I'm like, that's perfect. I get so jazzed whenever I see his name attached with anything, and I think in the future, so he let it slip about, it's almost, we keep talking about this on our podcast, every now and then.
Because we want it to happen.
We want it to happen so badly. But Arkham City ends, spoiler alert, it ends with some plot threads open. It's not a concrete ending. He said something at a comic convention where he was like, I'm working on the next Arkham game. Everyone thought it was Origins. Origins was then announced as having this new actor. And then he went to Twitter to say something along the lines of, oh, I didn't mean that one, but I'm working on some things. And then that tweet was deleted, and now it's been radio silence for 6 months, which makes me think that he's still working on it, and they probably pulled him aside and said, hey, man, keep it quiet.
You have contractual obligations.
Oh, yeah. I bet somebody, if they didn't have that in the clause, they added that and made him re-sign it.
Oh, yeah, real quick.
But that's all the time that we've got for today.
Can we get a OBT show high five for agreeing on something?
Yeah, we did. Nice job.
Yeah.
Normally we argue, and that's the fun. So if you are liking what you hear, you can always find us again at youtube.com/The OBT Show, Facebook, The OBT Show, Twitter at The OBT Show, Gmail's, guess what, TheOBTShow@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. I am Brendan O'Brien.
I am Chris Thurston.
You have been listening to 88.7 FM, The Edge.